Hello and welcome to Farm Connections. I'm your host, Dan Hoffman. On today's show, we visit Garvin Heights Winery. Kent Thiesse discusses the importance of CRP program changes in the next Farm Bill, and we meet with farmer Tom Finnegan to talk about production agriculture and soil conservation. All here today on Farm Connections.
Welcome to Farm Connections with your host, Dan Hoffman.
Farm Connections, sponsored by Alcorn Clean Fuel, a farmer-owned cooperative in Claremont, Minnesota, produces ethanol, high-protein livestock feed, and corn oil, and beverage-grade carbon dioxide for resale to benefit its members and their communities. Absolute Energy, a locally owned facility, produces 115 million gallons of ethanol annually, proudly supporting local economies in Iowa and Minnesota. Absolute Energy, adding value to the neighborhood. Southern Minnesota Center for Agriculture, promoting education and careers in agriculture, connecting students with college, curriculum, and industry resources to develop, fill, and sustain jobs with agriculture in our region.
We're at Garvin Heights Vineyard near Winona, Minnesota with the owner, Linda Sepinen. Linda, welcome to Farm Connections.
Yeah, good to be with you.
Well, your spouse is off doing chores, Marvin.
Well,
but
he's doing a meeting.
You have a beautiful spot here. Tell us about it.
Well, this has been our piece of nature and God's gift for about the last 30-some years. And when we bought it, we were not thinking of grapes. Where the grapes are, we had a flock of sheep, flock of chickens, kids were at home. But we were grape and wine lovers and became hobbyists, started planting, and just kept on. Now we're a commercial vineyard and winery.
How many grapevines do you have?
We got about 2,500 out here, and we can add a few more, but we're not going to cut down any of our woods. And about 5 acres, and that's what we can keep up with and run winery. So.
Well, something must have made you do all this work and move here. What was the vision? What was the thought?
Well, it's a gorgeous site, as you have seen and can appreciate all of our wonderful views of the rolling hills here of Winona. And you can just grow on the spot. It's got pretty decent soil. It's clay. So we can grow lots of things, and we've got garden, we've got nut trees, we've got windbreaks, but we've also got grapes, and that's
and it's really
taking over our life now.
Yummy stuff.
Yeah.
So originally it was sheep and chickens, but something made you say, let's try vineyards.
Well, we planted some grapes, and you know, once you start planting grapes, you like to plant more, and you want, certainly as hobbyists, you want a variety. So we kept planting, and even now we have about 18, 19 different kinds in our vineyard. And usually a commercial vineyard doesn't have that many, but we like different things. It does mean we know how a lot of varieties are doing. So when we are buying grapes from a local grower, we know what that person is going through in terms of this year's growing season. But it's interesting because they're all different. You know, you think every grape plant's the same, but no.
Well,
it's
it looks
different.
like a lot of work. So you start early in the morning and you go late at night. What kind of hours do you put in here?
Well, the tasting room is open to customers, our visiting public, 48 hours a week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We are closed on Mondays. But then we divvy up the work. That I'm the primary one running tasting room. Marv does more of the vineyard work. He's primary winemaker. I'm part of that too. And then it's a group effort on tasting. And then we got our daughter and son-in-law who are becoming more involved. So it's work, but I think I mentioned earlier, you don't need a fitness club membership then. So you just keep.
You did mention that. And it sounds like a lot of togetherness and a lot of family comes to make this all happen.
Oh yeah, it's tremendous help to have our daughter and son-in-law who live in Austin, so it's not a very far trip. And actually, Sophie, their greyhound, comes over, and she becomes my dog. She likes to stay with me because I have the people coming to see me. And she's learned how to interact with people. And then I have people specifically coming to see Sophie.
How does that make you feel?
Well, she is really nice. She'll just lay there and let you pet her. So it's a different piece of the business.
Well, it's all about people. It's combining agriculture, it's combining food science, some technology things to make a business, but it's really about people communing with food and nature, right?
And nature and other people. We want people to enjoy each other's company and enjoy the site so that you can come and have conversation and sit on our deck, enjoy these vines, meet other people so that you get to know, make new friends, I guess I should say it that way.
In those 10 years of being a vineyard operator and also making wine, you must have learned some things that make this special and maybe some things you can share with us.
Oh, what you learn? Well, you certainly learn the business aspect of it very quickly, and because you have to, and you get an appreciation, a closer appreciation to the weather and the seasons, because you're tracking what the grapes are going through. Other things. I mean, we've just met so many people. That's
fun.
And always learn from them and other people in the industry, because on one level, yeah, maybe you're in competition, but we really are in this all together, and we're sharing a love and a great product with consumers. So that's what makes it fun too, because you've got that camaraderie.
Well, it's a growing industry in our state, and of course, we couldn't always grow the grapes that you do here. Something happened, some research at the University of Minnesota, some variety development. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, we've been blessed that the University of Minnesota got going, whenever it was. Well, it was after Prohibition decided that they could be in the grape breeding business. And so they have been a leader in developing our North American hybrids, our cold climate grapes. So they have released 5 name varieties and are continuing to work on that. And certainly, I know Matt and Drew up there well. But also we've been blessed that there's been independent grape breeders who were doing it just because they wanted to develop grapes. And that's exciting in a field when you get to meet those people who are doing something really significant just on their own.
You mentioned the seasons, and behind us is the valley. Tell us about the valley, what body of water flows through there, and then the seasons that go through here.
Well, our basic valley is the Mississippi River. Now, that's to the north. Our view is the rolling hills away from the Mississippi. So there are some creeks down on those hills, but they don't really have names. So our body of water, though, is the Mississippi that moderates our temperature. And then I just enjoy our seasons where we have the gorgeous fall colors, because you're seeing that on the hills. The vines change color too in the fall. You get a wonderful snow color, the trees lose their leaves, the birches pop out with their white bark. And then spring is glorious because you get the birds back and everything turns green. And then we prune the grapes and they look like they've been skinned. No leaves, there's just sticks out there. But then they start growing to what we've got now, where you've got a lot of lush green. And they'll even get some more. So it makes you able to tolerate the bugs that want to attack your grapes because you like the view.
Well, it all leads up to a harvest. Tell us about the harvest season and how that happens here.
Harvest is a crunch time because we start harvesting in late August, and then we do each variety separately. So it usually runs late August through September and might be even into October. Well, what happens for our area is we have a lot of visitors in the fall for the colors. So we're very busy with customers. And then we're trying to get things picked. And we do all hand picking. We're not set up for mechanization. And so what we do is work with clubs as fundraisers, so that if you're a member of a club, you volunteer your time to the club, and then we contribute to the club.
Oh, nice.
So that we make arrangements with them for X number of their members, and then we give those folks orientation. We don't want anybody cutting off their fingers, and we tell them what to look for on bugs and everything, and then also teach them how do you actually get the grapes off the plant, and schedule people for about 4 hours.
And then do you conclude with anything special?
Well, they get a break. They get cookies and
wine?
Water. If you're over 21, then you can come in and have wine. The underage, yeah, they're getting their cookies and their drinks that way.
Well, Linda, we've got the harvest happening. We're beginning to gather those luscious grapes, and then they move into the winemaking area?
Right. So we crush right away as the grapes come in. We're maybe even chilling them down, but we're crushing right away and getting the reds into the tanks to start the fermentation. The whites are getting pressed out right away. If we're going to make rosés, then we've got to press that out right away. So it's this little dance of getting everything to work. The bottleneck has always been the press, and we bought a new, bigger press so it works faster, so that we can get through that process. And then it's into the tanks so it can develop. Because you actually get the fermentation done in a couple of weeks, but you can't drink that. It doesn't taste good.
Well, the age-old question, Linda, is winemaking an art? Or
It's
is
a
it science?
combination, because you got to be aware of all of that chemistry and what you're trying to do, and wonderful sanitation. You want to start with good fruit, handle them in a good, clean manner, and then you can get good wine. But you do have to sort of roll with, okay, what is the chemistry this year? What can we do? And then certainly when it comes to finishing the wines after they've been in the tanks, so the next spring, you're tasting as you go along, but the next spring you're also tasting, well, is this going to be ready to put into bottles? Is this going to go into a blend? Do we want to let this sit in the tank for another year? Or is this one that's going to go into the still? Because we do have a still, and we got all the licenses for that now.
Sounds like it takes some experience to do this.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot better compared. I could share one of the bottles that we did as hobbyists. When we didn't have all our nice equipment, we still have some in the house, compared to what that front neck is now. Worlds of difference that you do get better. Really helps having more equipment and space, but you plain out get better.
And like fine wine, when you're seasoned, you get better.
Yeah. You can make good wine from good grapes, but you heard the saying, you cannot make good wines from bad grapes. So it always starts in the vineyard.
Right where
and then and then you make sure you get the best you can from your vineyard, and then handle those grapes with a lot of respect and very carefully so that you can get the best juice from them.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for sharing the great space behind us.
Good, and I just encourage everybody to come and visit, because it's a great spot to just share with your friends and family and meet some new friends.
And we also appreciate you sharing your knowledge.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us on Farm Connections. Stay tuned for more.
One of the major items of discussion surrounding the current Farm Bill has been the conservation title, or more specifically, the Conservation Reserve Program. The CRP program has been around for many decades and is highly popular with farm operators, environmental groups, and wildlife enthusiasts. Many CRP supporters are pushing to increase the current maximum CRP acreage of 24 million acres to higher levels in the next Farm Bill. The CRP program was first developed in the 1985 Farm Bill, implemented in 1986. It's been highly successful at protecting water quality, reducing soil erosion, and enhancing wildlife habitat in certain areas of the country. The CRP program had 30 million acres in 1990. It peaked at over 36 million acres in 2007 and has been gradually declining since and is now less than 24 million acres. The maximum CRP acreage was reduced from 37 million acres to 32 million acres in the 2007 Farm Bill, and then the current Farm Bill reduced the maximum down to 24 million acres. Some environmental and wildlife groups would like to see the maximum CRP acreage increased to 35 to 40 million acres. However, some farm groups and others are calling for more moderate increases. Not everyone wants increases in CRP acres. Some point out that for beginning farmers, it would be more restrictive on some of the farmland. And also, folks point out that there is over 11 million acres of expiring CRP contracts from 2020 to 22 during the next Farm Bill, which would open up some more land for CRP. One of the biggest challenges with adding more CRP acres is the federal budget cost. The current CRP program currently costs about $1.8 billion a year, and increasing from 24 to 30 million acres would, at today's rental rates, would add another 30% to that cost. Given the strong public support for the CRP program, as well as support by many key members of Congress, it's likely that there will be a strong push to increase the CRP acreage to 28 to 30 million acres. Some federal budget adjustments are going to have to be made to accommodate the added cost of that program. Some of the ideas that are in place include reducing the maximum rental rate on CRP acres to 80% of the current maximum rate. Also, they may look at reducing other budget outlays for things like the farm program payments, crop insurance, the food and nutrition program, and other programs to generate more dollars to support the CRP program. All in all, CRP has been successful, and it's likely to continue to be a strong part of the next Farm Bill. That's all for today. We'll be back next time.
We're near Austin, Minnesota, and with me is Tom Finnegan, a local farmer. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
Tom, we were looking at your cattle, we were looking at your crops a while back. What's going on?
Well, we're trying to show people a different side of production agriculture.
Well, when we asked the question how long you've been farming, you said 5 years, and so you must have done something else for a livelihood before that.
Yep, I'm a full-time electrician. My wife's a full-time nurse. We've owned a farm for 27 years, cash rented it out. Our main interest is always livestock, so when I say I'm only 5 years, I'm only 5 years with row crop type farming aspect. But many years ago I started looking at things that I didn't agree with as far as how the practice was being done, and so we discussed it with the renter, and they didn't have the same viewpoint I had. And I was more conservation minded, and I thought there was a different way. So we graciously parted ways, and we've been on an adventure ever since.
When you made that change, you must have had some criteria or some outcomes in mind. What were you thinking was going to change if you took the management a different way?
The driving force being said that my main interest is livestock, and what I do is I try to offer a quality product without any growth hormone, stimulants, artificial anything. And so for us to honestly tell our customers that we're trying to make this better, we took it through the whole production cycle, because we raise our cattle from start to finish and they never leave our farms. So that segued into conservation, that segued into limited chemical use. Got going with a bunch of people, and it was just a fast track learning curve, and it's been great. We've seen a lot of changes.
You mentioned herbicides, fungicides, or insecticides, herbicides and other products that control nature or help control nature. You've moved away from that. Why?
Well, going right back to trying to have more of a clean water is a huge thing. You know, if we can keep our soils healthy, we don't need all the man-made inputs. And of course, if anyone knows anything about farming right now, it's a razor-thin margin. So to quote my 89-year-old dad, the fastest way to save money is not to spend it. So if you don't have to buy all these inputs because your soil's healthier, it all kind of falls into play.
So if you save, and I think you referenced a number of $50 an acre for herbicide, including the incorporation or the pass, if you save $50, what would you use that money for?
Well, when we were referring to that, we're also trying to minimize our tillage so that we save the soil structure, keep it more intact, because tillage is just destroying the way that the water infiltrates, the way the air moves through the soil, and all the good bugs, if you want to call them, microbes and all that stuff in your soil. So yeah, if we don't do a fall tillage pass, and we don't do a spring tillage pass, there's roughly $40 to $50 an acre in savings. And what you can do that for is you can turn that money over and use it as a cover crop investment, which still doesn't get to that point. So the tillage does one thing and it's not a good thing, whereas a cover crop does many things and they're all positive.
Listening to you speak, I think of that tillage practice as an annual kind of thing, or as opposed to a plant that you speak of that gives perennial.
Yeah, you get season-long benefits from cover crop, and a tillage pass is one and out.
One and out. If you're improving that soil tilth, soil health, it's something longer than 1 year, one growing season.
Oh yeah, it's through the life cycle. And actually, referring back to your statement or comment, we're 5 years into this, and we saw positive results in year 1. So it's actually exciting to see the ground heal itself.
What kind of positive results?
Oh, water infiltration. We had pooling, lots of pooling in the springs, and now that our soil is not being stratified, our water percolates through and doesn't run off. We're recycling what nutrients, what reduced nutrients we are buying are staying on our farm. They're not going into the water structure through a tile outlet. The health of the soil, the tilth of the soil, the earthworms that are being found that weren't there because we're not killing them anymore with chemicals and stuff. So a lot of positive benefits.
Anything different as far as soil movement across the landscape?
Yeah, it doesn't. Just plain and simple. They call it snert. At least when I was younger, we used to see all the dirt and the snow in the wintertime. It doesn't move, you know. And we incorporate livestock into our cover crop rotation, so it even fast tracks the benefit of the cover back to the soil below.
Well, your dad spoke a little bit about the fishing lake.
Yeah. We had a certain low spot on our farm that has, for 25 years, has always had pooling, standing water, and it's not 100% gone, but it's greatly reduced just by the simple fact that using the cover crops have helped permeate the hard pans and allowed the soil to percolate through like it's supposed to. And plus the crop itself uses water.
You've incorporated livestock. Not everybody uses cover crops does, but what's the advantage, or why are you doing that other than you love cattle and livestock?
Oh, it's just another way to heal the soil and to reduce their costs. I mean, going back to, like I said, if you don't spend it, you know, you're making more money. I mean, we're degrading our organic level in this country. We've lost 70% of our organic level in the last 120 years. How long can we continue to go down that road? If we talked about feeding the world population, how are we going to do that if we degrade our soil?
Any advice for young farmers?
Yeah, if your dad's got a lot of this in his beard, this gray stuff, twist his arm. Tell him to try it on just 40 acres. I mean, one season they will see a response. The biggest advice I can tell you is to plant a seed. Try it. They'll get, their pocketbook will show them that it's a positive, if nothing else.
Well, that's for the young farmers. How about the more seasoned farmers? Any advice for them?
Yeah, I would think that all farmers are, at heart, I mean, I don't think anybody's farming to get rich. I really don't. I think you either got to love the land or love being productive and produce something. And if you want to be better at it, I mean, they adopt modern technologies and modern equipment as fast as they can develop it. This isn't anything new. This has been around since the turn of time. We're just cyclical in our ways, and we're coming back and realizing what a huge benefit it is. So once again, the same thing holds for the old as it is the young. Try it. Go to a field day like we offered here today, and you can see it firsthand. We'll try it for you. Just come look.
Great message, Tom. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more on Farm Connections. Remaining adaptable and open to new techniques and attitudes helps keep the land fertile and viable in our necessity to agricultural success. A dedication to these concepts means a healthy future for us all. I'm Dan Hoffman. Thanks for watching Farm Connections.